Welcome back to Old Coin Adventures. Look closely at this Delaware Quarter, because there's something coming out of the horse's mouth, and it wasn't supposed to be there. At first, you might think it's a scratch, maybe damage, or just a strange mark. But look again. That tiny raised line is actually connected to the coin's die, and it created one of the most recognizable varieties in the State Quarter series. Collectors gave it a nickname, Spitting Horse. But here's the mystery. How did a horse on a U.S. quarter suddenly appear to be spitting? And more importantly, could that tiny line make your quarter worth more than 25 cents? Stay with me, because we're going to follow that tiny line all the way back to the mint. Before we talk about money, let's understand the coin itself. This is the 1999 Delaware State Quarter, the very first coin released in America's 50 State Quarters program. That makes this quarter historically important. Even before we talk about the era, the reverse shows Caesar Rodney, a Delaware statesman and founding father, riding his horse during his famous nighttime ride toward Philadelphia. The design was created by John Flanagan, and William Cousins adapted Washington portrait on the obverse, while the Delaware reverse was designed specifically for the State Quarter program. On the front, we have George Washington, Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. Turn it over, and you'll see Caesar Rodney on horseback, with Delaware, 1787, and United States of America. The 1787 date is especially important, because Delaware was the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. And that's why this wasn't just another quarter. It was the beginning of one of the most successful U.S. coin programs ever created. Now, let's get to the strange part. Look at the horse's mouth. You'll notice a thin raised line, extending outward from the mouth. That line isn't simply a scratch across the surface. The famous spitting horse appearance is associated with a die crack, a crack that developed in the working die used to strike the coins. As the die was used, the crack could become visible on the coins it struck. And that's why the feature can have a raised appearance on the finished quarter. This is an important distinction. A scratch happens to the coin. A die crack happens to the die, and the die transfers that feature onto the coins. That's what makes this variety so interesting. But there's another question. How can you tell whether the quarter in your collection actually has the famous spitting horse feature? That's where the close-up examination begins. We're going to put the quarter under the microscope. Now, turn your Delaware Quarter over. Forget the date for a moment. Forget the denomination. Look directly at the horse. More specifically, look at the horse's mouth. You're searching for a thin raised line, extending outward from the mouth area. And this is where many people make a mistake. They see a line and immediately call it an error. Don't do that. The line needs to be examined carefully. Is it raised? Does it connect naturally with the mouth area? Does it have the appearance of a die crack? Or does it look like a scratch running across the surface? That's the difference. A scratch is usually an injury to the finished coin. A die crack is part of the striking characteristic. And because the spitting horse is associated with a die crack, the feature should have the right appearance and location. Use good lighting. A magnifying glass can help, and a macro camera can make the feature much easier to see. But don't scrape the area, don't polish it, and definitely don't try to make the line deeper. Leave the coin exactly as you found it. There's another reason this quarter is such a fun coin to search for. The Delaware Quarter was produced in enormous numbers. So most 1999 Delaware Quarters are ordinary. That means the value isn't coming from the date alone. It's coming from the specific variety, the condition, and collector demand. And now, we arrive at the question everyone wants answered. How much can a spitting horse quarter actually be worth? The answer may surprise you, because this isn't one of those coins where every example is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Circulated examples can sell for only a small premium, while sharper examples, especially professionally attributed or high-grade pieces, can bring more. Recent sold examples have been reported in the single-digit dollar range, while some better examples have reached substantially higher prices. So don't throw away a normal Delaware Quarter. But don't assume every little mark is a jackpot either. The real treasure, is finding the genuine die crack variety. And if you believe you've found one, the next step is verification. Take clear photographs, compare the feature with documented examples, and if the coin appears particularly valuable, consider professional authentication and grading. For selling, you can look at established coin marketplaces and auction platforms, but always compare actual sold prices, not just asking prices, because anyone can list a quarter for $500. That doesn't mean someone will pay $500. The sold price is what matters, and that's one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. Don't chase a number. Prove the coin first. So, take another look at your 1999 Delaware Quarter. Find Caesar Rodney. Look at the horse. Look directly at the mouth. If you see that tiny raised line, you may have found the famous spitting horse. And suddenly, that ordinary-looking quarter has a much more interesting story. This is Old Coin Adventures. Subscribe, because next time, we'll take another American coin that looks completely ordinary and search for the tiny detail that most people never notice.